It's about not being quiet about how you feel. Which is good advice if I don't say so myself. I try to let you get in just to see a tiny piece of my mind. And you've barely scratched the surface, but you're running on a clock that's running out of time. With the darkest of intentions and these quiet interventions shut me down. So I'll stay here in the shadows, unafraid to unmask the things that might cause you to drown. I'm never gonna be quiet. You seem to only want a well-paid silence. That's fine, but I know you're working from a clock until you pull the gun and cocked it down. My only option is they stop dropping, or I can just throw up. They're constantly saying I'll go up. Now hold up, I'm done telling you my story, but tell the next one and I said hello.
In 1999, the Wachowskis introduced us all to The Matrix, a computer-generated world in which the future post-war human population are cocooned, oblivious to the reality that they are slaves to machines. The film was influenced by philosophers both ancient and modern, from Plato's cave to Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation. But whilst The Matrix was a science fiction nightmare, those philosophers talked about the real world, the one you and I live in. We all live in a dream world created and maintained by the media, corporations, governments, advertisers, educators, and in the case of autistic people, the scientists, academics, and psychologists who spent the last 80 years telling us our minds don't function properly. Thanks to them, a great many autistic people have been conned into thinking that they are deficient in ways they simply are not. They've been given an unrealistic vision of neurotypical life, which has made them feel like failures or incomplete people, when in fact, they're just people.
Yes.
We have been duped by the system and have suffered unnecessary pain because of it. In The Matrix, the machines harvested the electricity generated by human bodies to fuel their society. In the real world, we're plugged into an illusion based on consumption, aspiration, and consensus to gather different fuel, our labour and our compliance. Like The Matrix, the majority have been fooled into believing it's by choice. If you don't toe the party line, you're excluded from the benefits of this system, which is why so many autistic people find it difficult to get through education, to connect to others, or find suitable employment. More than once, I've encountered autists who think that their quality of life would be far superior if they were neurotypical. There is truth in that, but the reasons are not what they think them to be. Their belief is founded on inaccurate ideas of neurotypical life and abilities that have surrounded them since they were first identified as different. Not being autistic may reduce some of the barriers we face, but those barriers are for the most part not caused by being autistic. They're caused by the common fear of the unknown. That fear is often twisted into hostility towards others because of their colour, nationality, faith, sexuality, gender identity, and even where they scribble their X on voting day. Autistic people experience it because our minds are unpredictable, which makes those who don't know us better feel threatened. The difficulties we face are not because we are different, but because society doesn't handle difference well. Social structures that most of the world takes for granted are built on the principle of consensus and of mass compliance. They cater to the majority of people, but penalise the outliers. Someone who doesn't or can't comply will inevitably be cast out. Everything in the world today is transactional. There is no one-way traffic. Everything is based on exchange, however unfair those exchanges may be. Nothing is without cost. whether it be paid in money. Those who have large reserves of any kind of currency hold power over others. Autists upset the balance of that economy, because our minds are unusually biased towards truth, candour, and altruism. When we tell a truth, we take away power from those who kept it secret. When we pay someone a compliment without demanding one in return, we place them in debt to us. When we help someone without expecting anything in return, we confuse people, because they've been conditioned to believe they must owe us something. Not being able to pay that perceived debt makes people uncomfortable, and that leads to mistrust and dislike. So much of natural autistic behaviour disrupts the workings of the many transactional social economies that make our world tick in its current form. The fact that we seem so alien to the majority who've chosen to accept this transactional way of living life, and the corresponding alienation so many of us feel, has made too many people, both autistic and non-autistic alike, receptive to the idea that we're not just different, we are deficient. Some of the ideas that I found autistic people believing about themselves are patently untrue, and often built on huge misconceptions about society or humanity as a whole. The same illusion of prosperity, hope, and happiness built by media and governments and propagated by its willing participants has infected the minds of so many of us to make us believe that we are inferior people. It drives us to depression. It makes us fight against our own. It creates fantasies of neurotypical life that just aren't true, and in some cases it drives us to the brink with tragic consequences. As the term was then. The first online article that I found, which was written by another autist, opened with the line, "To be on the autistic spectrum is to know bullying intimately, completely, and unremittingly." It was not a moment for me. It resonated so deeply, and yet it scared me. I had known bullying all my young life, but to see someone else with similar experiences to mine writing of bullying that paralleled my experience was both vindication and warning. It wasn't just me, not just some unique quirk of my personality that had invited my mistreatment. It was something common to other autistic people too. A quarter of a century on, and it's still an unfortunate truth. An autistic person who can honestly say they haven't been in the target of at least one vicious bully is a rarity indeed, and it's not exclusive to children. Bullying can happen almost anywhere, in schools, in churches, in social groups, in the workplace, and even in hospitals. Why does bullying happen, though? What turns a person into a bully? What do they gain from it? In nature, there are countless animals that form groups of the same species. From prides of lions on the plains of Africa to the herds of zebra and wildebeest they prey upon. Groups offer distinct survival advantages. Hunters are more successful working in packs, whilst prey animals stand a higher chance of survival if they're just one of many potential targets. And of course, it increases opportunities for reproduction, no end. Humans are no exception to this. However, unlike our cousins in the wild, humans can feel part of multiple groups at once. We have the tribe of family and the tribe of nation, the tribe of religion and the tribe of class. There are political tribes and sporting tribes. Even gender and sexuality are subject to tribalism. Tribes give a sense of commonality and strength. Members see themselves as part of a select group that share an understanding, a characteristic, or something as simple as living in the same place. The desire to be part of something is a primal urge that is keenly sought. To be alone, to not be a part of something, is a common fear which people go to great lengths to avoid. A common aspect of virtually all tribes is hierarchy. There's always a pecking order. There is a top dog who calls the shots, whether it's a formally recognised leader, the strongest of the pack, or the most popular. It's rare that a group exists, no matter their idealism or beliefs, where hierarchy doesn't exist to some degree. And it is hierarchy that creates bullies. Whilst most people are content to be simply part of the group and reap the benefits such membership brings, others seek to increase their status. It may be because they see higher status as being a more secure position, but often it's because they have their eyes on the top dog's throne. There are 3 obvious routes to gaining favour and status. One is through achievement. They may work hard to demonstrate their superior strength or intelligence to prove themselves worthy of a seat at the top table, gaining the respect and position they desire by earning it. Second is buying status. Using wealth, outside influence, or by showering favour and compliments on those above them, they may be allowed into the inner circle, and once inside, consolidate their position. Unfortunately for the bully, their ambition often far outweighs their talent or value to the group, so they are left with option 3, intimidation and subterfuge. They must build their own circle of influence, their tribe within a tribe. This will be made up from their immediate peers, those who are more or less equal to them, but don't pose an immediate threat. In order to establish themselves as leader of that group, they must find a foe to vanquish to demonstrate their strength. They can't risk taking on someone stronger or higher status, so they pick a victim they see as weaker than themselves, an easy target who doesn't quite fit in as well as the others. Ideally, it will be someone ill-equipped to fight back. Even better, someone who won't even realise they're a victim until it's too late to turn the tide. Bullying isn't just a way to gain status, though. Many of the worst bullies already enjoy a position of power, but they continue to victimise those they perceive as weak nonetheless. It's a never-ending power game to them. To maintain their position, they must make examples of others to show the consequences of challenging their ideas or their position. This tactic has been employed by teachers, military personnel, middle management, politicians, and countless other authority figures since time began.
The invitation to open space. From a number of conversations that I have had with independent tradespeople and others who are not directly embedded in big corporate and government power dynamics, it is clear that many people understand perfectly well that we live in a global monocult of abstract life-destroying institutions. What is still unusual is for people to openly share their experiences with late-stage capitalism beyond their most intimate circle. In fact, without actively being encouraged in a safe environment, many don't even share their experiences and observations with anyone, and may be plagued by self-doubt, or may have resigned to a state of deep despair, following pushback from those who are still in a state of complete denial and or have fallen for one of the many simplistic ideologies. It is impossible to recover from autistic burnout within the system, i.e., within the established institutional landscape. At best, peer support can assist us in continuing in survival mode, which is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, appease, which is also known as trauma bonding or Stockholm Syndrome.
As we look at the range of disorders and the compulsivity, that's what I like to focus on, that out of that shame base, another way to look at the crisis is to say that we're in a crisis of compulsivity, and that compulsivity itself is set up in family systems. That the initiation into compulsivity always takes place in families, and the way it takes place is out of some form of abuse.
I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me in these last few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away. I've been telling stories, singing songs that made me think about where I came from, and that's the reason why I seem so far away.